Welcome to this episode of Truth Seekers, where His Grace Bishop Emilianos of Manoa will answer questions sent in by the youth with a member of the youth.
Hello Anthony, thank you for coming here today. Would you like to introduce yourself?
Yes, a pleasure to be here. My name's Anthony Angeli. I'm 29. I'm a father. I'm married. We have a 1-year-old son, my beautiful wife. Day to day, I'm a lawyer. Other than that, my journey with the church probably began a few years ago, so still very fresh in the scheme of life, and that's about it.
Okay, so I have a question for you. So the question is, how do we resist anger and the impulse to judge our neighbor? What are your thoughts?
I think it's a difficult question because once anger has arisen, it's very hard to come back from that. But from a practical point of view, my spiritual father once told me the Jesus prayer is a good tool. So if you find yourself in a situation where anger has arisen, if you turn your mind to the Jesus prayer even for 5 seconds, at least that will stop things from getting worse. So I think that's a good practical tool to start with. But to answer the question in a more broad sense, I suppose, anger takes away all rationality. So once you become angry, you tend to do things that make no sense, one being judging your neighbour. So I think they're intertwined. For example, a person might cut you off, and you have this impulse to you feel angry, you feel hurt. They've ruined my day, I've got a place to be. You can only think about yourself. But you've lost the rationality of, well, what are they doing? They might be speeding on the way to the hospital to see their newborn baby, or to see a person at the airport who they haven't seen in 10 years. So in terms of resisting that, I think if you focus on the good in other people or the situation, your anger will dissipate. That's a sort of long-winded answer, but I think that's what I'd probably suggest.
Yes, anger is a very, very serious problem for people that they suffer from it, because some people, they can get angry easier, and some people, they are not that easy to get angry. I remember that from what I heard at least, Elder Aimilianos, when he was younger, he had this issue. He was getting upset easily. So what he did, he prayed one night. He did a full-on vigil with prayer, and then in the morning, God had taken away the anger from him. This is not something that me and you can do, but it's something that had happened. So then, knowing that for Elder Aimiliano, when we were at the monastery, if he was to raise his voice, was not because he was upset or angry, it was because he had to raise his voice to tell us that what we were doing was wrong. The same way that when you try to discipline your child, you shouldn't be doing it out of anger, but out of teaching your child. If what you're doing is out of anger, you will regret the way you did it after, and you will most likely come for confession, which is okay, but it doesn't necessarily teach your child that the parent is mature enough. It doesn't give stability to the soul of the child if the parent reacts with anger to a mistake that the child does. When if the parent reacts with maturity, as if you re-examine the situation a week later, if you have the maturity of a week's time, so if you can understand that you should not react, you should act, then your way of dealing will teach your child that what happened was not right, but the parent knows better and the child needs to listen, and there are certain dangers in this action and he has to be more careful and all these things. But you remove the poison of the anger out of the teaching, out of teaching the child what to do and what not to do. So, going back to the actual question, how do we resist anger? I think we resist anger by going closer to God, and we can do this with our prayers when we establish a connection with God. Then what this means is that when something happens, we are less likely to get upset, first of all, because by becoming one with God, we understand the other person, where they're coming from. As you said, they might be rushing to the hospital when they cut us off. So we have a better understanding of the other person, why they act the way they act. And for this reason, we won't get upset with them if we understand them. But also, being united with God, being closer to God, gives you the feeling that whatever they do cannot change your relationship with God. So whatever they might be doing, you need to deal with it, but there is no reason to get upset and lose your connection with God. So if you were to prioritize the damage that might happen, it's more of a bigger damage if you get upset and you lose your connection with God, which will get you upset and make you judge the other person, than to let it go, calm down, and deal with it with a sound way of thinking. What do you think?
You briefly mentioned the impulse to respond and to do that with maturity. That's very key in how things might play out. As you were saying that, I was sort of thinking, and I'd like to get your thoughts on this. If you have like a lemon, let's say, and you squeeze a lemon, what comes out is lemon juice, right? Similar with people. If you sort of press someone or you say something that, might trigger someone, if what comes out, like the lemon, is anger, is that something we should really reflect on and think, well, if I'm acting with anger, then that's really showing what's inside, and it's something I might need to fix?
Anger can have a lot of reasons for existing. So, for example, there are people that they grew up in a certain way and they were insecurities when they were growing up, and then they were full of anger. Not because they are angry people, but because they had to have a dominant approach and presence in their environment to be able to survive, to keep their head above water. So they had to show that they are there, and the only way to do this was by reacting. And some people, they might be angry because life took things from them and they can't understand it. So these are issues that, and for a million different reasons, but these are issues that they exist within a person's soul, and this person needs to cure himself through God, through his spiritual father. Some people, they suggest a psychological approach as well, which might be helpful, but the thing is that if you go through God, God can heal your soul, and then you understand that there is no reason to be upset. This life is temporary. Whatever happened, happened. The reason why I'm here today and I'm the way I am is because I went through a lot of pain in my life. But why should I be upset about the pain which made me who I am? If I am to understand that everything in life has a purpose, whatever God allows has a purpose, we said this before, then there is no reason to be upset. But then again, we're humans and we get upset. So if I know that by pushing someone's buttons, they will get upset, I should not squeeze this lemon, if this makes any sense. It's not wise. Is this what you meant?
Yeah, it makes me think about what you were saying with your Yananda, that he was cured, like his lemon juice, if you call it that, turned into love. And so he purified himself, if I can use that word, of that particular vice. So that makes complete sense.
Thank you very much for coming today.
Thank you, pleasure to be here.
I have this home inside my heart, and it tore me all apart, and my soul is lost. All hope it could